For me, I am a veterinarian first. I think one of the reasons that we have 100 episodes of this show is that the show is real.
In addition to providing his family with financial security, Dr. Paul leaves behind a legacy that brings tears to their eyes. His estimated net worth ranges from $1 million to $1.5 million. Over the course of many years, Dr. Paul's wealth was accumulated through a combination of hard work, love, and sacrifice. He was particularly well known for his generosity towards horses. On the other hand, his wealth is more than just a symbol of success. It's the culmination of his personal struggles, including the devastating death of his grandson, which occurred in the past. Come with us as we investigate the extraordinary fortune that Dr. Paul leaves behind, a fortune that will endure for many generations to come. In his journey, Dr. John Paul has shown a great deal of dedication and affection for animals. Having spent his childhood on a dairy farm, he was exposed to a wide variety of animals from an early age. He first became interested in veterinary medicine while working on this farm, which was known for its lush pastures and uncomplicated way of life. He frequently assisted in the care of the farm animals when he was a child because he was captivated by the state of their health. As a result of this early experience, he became interested in animal health and began a career in veterinary medicine that he has continued throughout his entire life. Although there was a limited capacity for work in the Netherlands after the war, Dr. Paul did not give up on his dream, regardless of the circumstances. In addition, he received his education in veterinary science from Utrecht University, which is widely regarded as one of the most prestigious educational institutions in the world that provides programs in veterinary medicine. It was during his time in this location that he gained valuable experience and accumulated knowledge that ultimately led him to accomplish his goals. For Dr. Paul, veterinary medicine was not merely a profession. Rather, it was his life's work and his calling. His growing ambitions, on the other hand, were beyond the Netherlands' ability to contain. Dr. Paul made the courageous decision to relocate to the United States in the 1970s, shortly after he had met Diane, who would later become his wife. The couple eventually made their home in Michigan, and he started working at a veterinary clinic in the area. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, which was full of challenges. Bringing himself up to speed with a new culture while simultaneously establishing himself professionally was not an easy task. In spite of this, he quickly established a reputation as a devoted veterinarian, thanks to his tireless efforts and compassionate approach. He took care of a wide variety of cases, ranging from routine checkups to emergency farm calls, and he frequently worked late into the night to provide medical attention to his subjects. The lengthy hours, on the other hand, were a burden. There were numerous occasions when Diane waited for him to return from a late visit to the farm by sitting by the window with their young children. Even though he enjoyed his job, the fact that he was unable to attend family dinners, school events, or bedtime stories was a significant burden for him. It was necessary for him to make these sacrifices in order to provide a better future for his family. Dr. Paul, with the assistance of his wife, Diane, established a clinic in Weidman, Michigan, that is now known as Paul Veterinary Services. This was accomplished after Dr. Paul had worked for a considerable amount of time and had saved money. At the beginning of his career, Dr. Paul operated out of a modest building and was willing to travel significant distances in order to provide medical care to animals in rural areas. It was a difficult time in the beginning, primarily because of the difficulties in establishing the business and the financial difficulties that were encountered. While Dr. Paul worked hard to realize his goals, Diane was responsible for all of the financial aspects of the clinic, as well as the household responsibilities. This was necessary because they were raising their children at the same time. His commitment and hands-on approach eventually paid off over the course of time. More and more people began to participate in the practice as word spread about the expertise and dedication of this individual. As a veterinary surgeon who worked in rural areas, managing a clinic was difficult because of the long working hours, the unpredictable weather conditions, and the fact that it involved dealing with large bovines in relatively isolated areas. Despite this, Dr. Paul was able to establish a strong foundation for his future career by exerting an incredible amount of determination. It was beneficial for Dr. Paul to work in such difficult practice conditions, which are common in rural areas associated with animal health services. His upbringing on a farm in Holland equipped him with the tough physique and the strength necessary to work with animals and comprehend the feelings that they experience. In spite of this, his education in veterinary medicine included instruction on how to treat and prevent a variety of diseases and conditions. In spite of the fact that he was missing out on time with his family, he was confident that the actions he was taking were for the betterment of his family's future. Dr. Paul is of the opinion that the health and well-being of pets is equally as important as that of people. In order to maintain the health of pets, he stresses the significance of providing the pet with the appropriate diet and frequent exercise for both the pet and the owner. As a result of the fact that being overweight can lead to health problems such as diabetes, particularly in older dogs, he emphasizes the importance of effective weight management for dogs. It's possible that cats don't have the same issues as dogs, but some cats that are lazy can still end up being overweight. In order to ensure that as many children as possible are able to grow up with pets, Dr. Paul's primary message is that pet care should be reasonable and affordable, making it accessible to families. With the passage of time, Paul Veterinary Services evolved into a thriving enterprise that eventually became increasingly successful. Because of his compassionate nature and the immense skills he possessed in his line of work, Paul had a large number of customers who traveled from all over the country to seek his services. The fact that he became more than just a veterinarian for animals meant that he also maintained positive relationships with farmers and all of the people who had pets. People who appreciated his dedication to his work were drawn to him because of his straightforward manner and the professionalism with which he dealt with the animals of his customers. In conclusion, as the dental practice expanded, Dr. Paul's reach and popularity among dental patients also increased proportionately. As a result of his willingness to take on difficult cases that other solicitors avoided, he was able to amass a significant amount of wealth. He was trusted by his customers. Therefore, in order for him to achieve professional success, he was required to pay the ultimate price. Due to the fact that Diane was responsible for the majority of the family's caregiving, she became increasingly frustrated as he frequently failed to show up for significant events in the lives of his children. Despite the fact that such sacrifices were a significant burden, he was adamant about not abdicating his responsibilities. Dr. Paul's career as a veterinarian flourished, but life presented him with even more unexpected challenges. It was only a portion of his story that he discussed the difficulties of operating a rural practice. The beginning of a new chapter, one that would bring him fame and fortune on a global scale, was about to embark upon him. It was a television show that would be the catalyst for the transformation of the veterinarian from Michigan into a name that is recognized all over the world. However, how did Dr. Paul become a well-known figure on television? In the year 2011, Paul Veterinary Services was presented with an opportunity that was completely unexpected and of great value. When it first began, it was a modest veterinary clinic located in a rural area of Michigan, and it was getting ready to become a reality television show that was very popular. Charles Paul, the son of Dr. Paul, was probably the most important person involved in this transition. It dawned on him that there was a chance to transform the work of his father into a series that would not only concentrate on the veterinary industry, but would also capture the genuine essence of the unfiltered reality of farming in rural areas. Charles had witnessed his father's dedication to animals, and he was aware of how peculiar it was for him to be in charge of the clinic on this particular day. Particular instances in which he had to rush at midnight to attend to the animals that were in distress, as well as the friendship that he had developed with the individuals who were known as Dr. Paul, were things that he believed could be passed down to others. It was a blessing for him to grow up in a rural area of Michigan because he is aware of the amount of work that is required to run a farm and take care of pets. However, Los Angeles provided him with the necessary tools to tell this story. In an effort to carry on the legacy that his father had established, Charles came up with the concept of reality shows. This was a straightforward idea. Keep an eye on Dr. Paul as he made house calls and performed operations, as well as treated a variety of livestock, including horses and cows, among other animals, in order to address issues that were affecting cats and dogs. He was of the opinion that the audience would be interested in his father because of his straightforward manner and his genuine interest in animals. Indeed, he was correct. Joe's attempt to pitch the idea to various networks took a considerable amount of time, and last but not least, National Geographic Wild expressed interest in the programming. The incredible Dr. Paul made his appearance as a result. Since it was first broadcast, the program has been well received by viewers. No, the treatment and care of animals was not the only factor at play here. It was an emotionally engaging portrayal of life in the country, driven by Dr. Paul's passion and commitment to the subject matter. Audiences who enjoyed the realism of a comedy series about a veterinarian that did not sugarcoat the profession and its daily grimes were the perfect audience for the show. The accomplishments of Dr. Paul, as well as the personal cost that came along with his profession, were brought to the attention of the general public from a centralized perspective. A sizable audience was drawn to the show when it was first introduced, and the incredible Dr. Paul was the reason for this. By tuning into their radios and turning on their televisions, people were able to watch and listen to Dr. Paul perform a wide variety of surgical procedures, including assisting in the delivery of calves in the middle of the night. People were interested in seeing Dr. Paul because he had a warm and humorous personality, as well as a genuine love for animals and the people who cared for them. However, it was not only the medical cases that people wanted to see. It was a symbol of the many hours spent working and the hours away from family and friends while focusing on a career. Off camera, the birth of the show offered a financial shot for the Paul family after years of toil and struggles. However, it was also a symbol of the many hours spent working. During his time as a runner, the magnificent Dr. Paul became well known in the United States of America, as well as in other parts of the world. He is now well known as a television personality and a veterinarian. The incredible Dr. Paul, on the other hand, was not like other reality shows in the United States because it did not present an excessive amount of drama. The emphasis was placed on real people, real animals, and real-life situational elements. With the show's heartwarming and emotional stories, as well as Dr. Paul's warm and welcoming personality, viewers were able to form a profound connection with the show. Not only did the series focus on animals, but it also highlighted the people and communities that Dr. Paul served. The audience regarded him as a reliable companion who had a profound concern for the well-being of both the animals and the people who owned them. There have been many memorable cases that have been featured on the show over the years, but two unusual cases stand out as particularly noteworthy. In one instance, Dr. Paul took care of a horse that was experiencing severe abdominal pain, only to discover that the horse had been consuming automobile tires. The horse needed to undergo a rigorous procedure in order to be saved from death. An additional peculiar instance involved a cow that had developed a craving for dirt and gravel, which resulted in blockages in the individual's stomach. Dr. Paul made the breakthrough discovery that the cow's peculiar appetite was caused by a mineral deficiency, which he remedied through a complicated surgical procedure. Dr. Paul's veterinary skills were put to the test, and the unpredictable and hands-on challenges that are inherent in farm animal medicine were brought to light by these cases. Both fame and financial security were brought to Dr. Paul as a result of the success of the show. The fact that it was featured on National Geographic Wild contributed significantly to the increase in his sales. In spite of the fact that his veterinary practice in rural Michigan continued to provide services to the community, Dr. Paul was able to ensure a prosperous future for his family by securing additional income. In light of the fact that he had a difficult time juggling his work and family responsibilities in his younger years, this financial success was a source of pride for him. Despite the fact that he was wealthy, Dr. Paul never wavered in his commitment to his work. He frequently put in long hours to ensure that animals received the care they needed. As a result of the money that was generated by the show, Dr. Paul's family was able to secure their future for next generations, which is yet another example of success. Because of his success, he was able to provide his family with something that he had never fantasized about doing before the series continued to air season after season. The emotions that were expressed by his family were not only concerned with the emotionally moving scenes that were featured on the show, but they also expressed gratitude for what Dr. Paul had created through his passion, love for animals, and committed service to the community. To what extent do you agree or disagree with Dr. Paul's meteoric rise to fame on television? His veterinary clinic, which he established in 1981, was the primary source of income for Dr. Paul long before he became famous as a result of his work in the film industry. Over 20,000 patients were treated at the clinic on a daily basis, and it served the rural farming community. The day-to-day operations of Paul Veterinary Services continued to be the foundation of his earnings, even after he achieved recognition on a global scale. In spite of the fact that his wealth from television was increasing, Dr. Paul never left his clinic under any circumstances. He maintained a hands-on approach, frequently forgoing his own time in order to guarantee that animals received the necessary care. He maintained a strong sense of responsibility towards his family and community, which was reflected in his unwavering dedication to the clinic, which allowed it to remain profitable. Dr. Paul's financial breakthrough occurred in 2011, when the incredible Dr. Paul Show was produced. Despite the fact that he was able to establish a prosperous veterinary practice, It was reported that he was paid between $30,000 and $40,000 for each episode of the show. Although this amount has experienced an increase in recent times, the show garnered a significant number of viewers. Following the completion of 24 seasons and more than 240 episodes, the show has amassed a net worth that is in the millions. In addition to this, it presented the possibility of acquiring additional sources of income, such as the sale of commercials, personal appearances, and speeches. Never Turn Your Back on an Angus Cow was the title of a memoir written by Dr. Paul, which revealed additional information about his life and journey from the Netherlands to the United States, where he eventually became a well-liked veterinarian. Instead of putting an end to his fame, Dr. Paul continued to work to build upon it. It goes without saying that this was beneficial to his financial situation, as the book went on to become a bestseller. In addition to this, he worked with companies that were involved in the care of animals and became a brand ambassador for products such as grooming products, pet groceries, and veterinary equipment. Because of these partnerships, he was able to secure financial support and further solidify his position as an authority in the field of animal husbandry. For example, they put their money to work by investing it, whereas Dr. Paul is well known for his property investments, particularly in real estate. He makes his home in Weidman, Michigan, on a sizable piece of land that is equipped with a farm. Additionally, he tends to a number of animals and engages in speculation related to farming. In spite of his wealth, Dr. Paul lives a simple life, with the exception of one notable indulgence. He was given a personal tour of a garage that contained automobiles such as a 1937 Rolls-Royce and a 1981 DeLorean. The man who was responsible for these luxuries was someone who recalled his origins and the struggles he had to overcome in order to establish a life for himself. As a result, Dr. Paul's fortune consists of a great deal more than accumulation of wealth. Love, perseverance, and devotion to one's family are the true treasures that one can find in their family. Because of the circumstances that have caused his family to go through a difficult time, such as the passing of his grandson, Adam Butch, he has become more determined to ensure that his family will have a bright future. When it came to investments, episodes, and partnerships, his desire to safeguard and provide for his loved ones was the driving force behind everything he did. It is not just money that will be his legacy. This is a story of success, love, and an unwavering dedication to family, and it is a testament to his unwavering commitment to building something that will last for his children and grandchildren. Imagine how shocking the family tragedies that came about as a result of Dr. Paul's success could be if you were surprised by the wealth that was behind those successes. The narrative presented here is based on the true story of Dr. John Paul, who has achieved a great deal in his professional life, despite the fact that he has experienced a significant amount of tragedy in his personal life. To be more specific, one of the most significant disappointments occurred in the year 2019. Unfortunately, his grandson, Adam James Butch, passed away when he was only 23 years old. Adam Paul, the son of Kathleen Paul, the daughter of Dr. Paul, was a bright and hardworking young man who possessed a great deal of inherent potential. He received his degree in pharmacy technology from Michigan State University and worked in the field. The construction of his independent life was taking place. A rumor that he passed away at a young age due to his chronic disease was a tragedy for the Paul family because it meant that they would no longer have his essential role. As a result of the fact that Dr. Paul had been very involved with his grandchildren, the news of Adam's passing came as a rude and unexpected shock to him. The only thing that it did was make him make sure that his family was safe for the future, which was unknown because anything could happen. After experiencing such a loss, Dr. Paul came to the conclusion that Adam's passing was the only thing that gave his efforts to amass wealth a new meaning. Beyond merely being successful, the financial gain that he made from his business as a veterinarian and television program became more than just success. Under any and all circumstances, it turned into a middle ground for the protection and future of his family. After the death of his cherished wife, Paul continued to be devoted to his family and to ensuring that they had financial security. This was in addition to the emotional support and love that she had provided. In addition to the loss of Adam, the Paul family has been through a number of other challenges that have given them the opportunity to become more resilient as a unit. Over the years, the challenge of running a prosperous veterinary practice while simultaneously filming the incredible Dr. Paul has resulted in a significant amount of stress. Over the course of these challenges, however, Dr. Pol has not wavered in his conviction that his family is the most important thing in his life and in everything he does. He frequently emphasizes that his love for his family and his dedication to their future are the driving forces behind his professional and personal endeavors. Not only has Dr. Pol's work and wealth been about material success, but it has also always been about something else. They are a legacy of love, care, and resiliency that they have left behind. It is a legacy that is intended to provide for the family in the most difficult of times and in every aspect of life that is possible. As a result of Dr. Pol's desire to leave a legacy that will endure for generations to come, he has made it a priority to avoid the situation in which he is wealthy today but impoverished tomorrow. Despite this, there will be new generations within the Pol family who will also benefit from his achievements in the future. It is not just the financial capital that Dr. Pol bestowed upon his family that constitutes the fortune that he left behind for them. It is also the years of labor, efforts, dedication, and love that he demonstrated towards animals and his family. Therefore, when his family realizes the magnitude of his activities, income, and wealth that he has accumulated, as well as the life that he has created for a peaceful future and the family itself, they come to the conclusion that they are completely overwhelmed. The tears that were shed were not only for the money that he earned, but also for the time that he spent on them. He worked late into the night, took care of the animals, and made sure that the family business was operating smoothly. Despite the fact that the death of Adam brought the family closer together in their grief, it also strengthened Dr. Pol's determination to make sure that his family's future was safe. Money is not the only thing he is leaving behind. Love, stability, and the knowledge that he has worked tirelessly to ensure their well-being are all things that he is providing for them because of his efforts. The emotional weight of Dr. Pol's legacy is something that his family must finally come to terms with. In addition to the financial aspects of his legacy, his unwavering support for their requirements and his lifelong dedication to the field of veterinary medicine are both things that they have seen. Now that they have had the opportunity to consider his achievements, they have a better understanding of the true value of his efforts. The tears that they shed are about the man that they love, just as much as they are about the wealth that he leaves behind. When his family considers the contributions that Dr. Pol has made to both their family and the field of veterinary medicine, they are filled with an overwhelming sense of pride. On the other hand, along with that pride comes the realization that his legacy was shaped by personal sacrifices, losses, and moments of difficulty. The wealth that Dr. Pol will leave behind carries the weight of a man who sacrificed everything for the cause of those he loved, including both people and animals. As a symbol of humility, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to his family and profession, his name will continue to be remembered for generations to come. The journey that Dr. Pol has taken teaches us the significance of family, the power of perseverance, and the power of hard work.